I had no intention of becoming a lawyer. When I was at school, I thought I would be a teacher. But when I was at Bridgend Grammar, I saw what teaching involved and I knew I'd be hopeless. And so I thought I should do a subject at university which would allow me to work thereafter. I decided to do law. There was no really well thought out reason for it. It's fair to say I didn't enjoy the study of law. That's no reflection on how I was taught at Birmingham University. I was not the best of students, and so I involved myself in the debating society, in the newspaper and other things. And when I came to leave university, I was going to leave law. And I went to Unilever for the last round of interviews to join their management trainee programme. And the company secretary, himself a barrister, took me on one side and said, "Don't do this, there's far more of a lawyer in you than you think." So I came to London, I did the solicitor's exams, I went into what was then called articles, but I didn't like it. And so I left law completely. I went to work in the city as an investment analyst, but by then I'd seen the bar in action. And I loved what I'd seen. I loved the advocacy, I enjoyed watching the analytical skills, and I wanted to go to the bar. But I was a woman, it was the mid-70s, I'd been to a red brick university, I was state educated, and I didn't think I'd stand a chance. And I thought about it and eventually decided that either I gave it a shot or I'd end up with a chip on my shoulder about it. I joined Gray's in the Welsh Inn, I obtained pupillage, and I loved it from day one. So I would like to tell you it was a well thought out plan, but in truth, I just went from one step to another and eventually ended up at the bar. For 7 years, I was the only woman in chambers. And then we took on one woman and then gradually a second. It was a slow process. I was never led by a woman. I had no role models. Women weren't around at a senior level in those days. I started off doing everything. We were a young set, we were quite a poor set, and whatever work came in through the door, I did. And it was the most wonderful grounding. I did civil work, I did family, I did crime. And gradually, I narrowed down my work until I was doing some crime and some personal injury. Moved into the 1980s, my pupil master took silk, and he had begun to do some work in the field of medical law. And when he took silk, his work fell down to three of us, Robert Francis, John Grace and myself, and we went with it. And what happened was, as we went with it, so medical law as a specialisation at the bar developed. I then, in the next 2 years, became involved in the Cleveland child abuse inquiry. I represented the two doctors who were facing allegations at that inquiry as junior counsel. And following that, I became known as a specialist in medical law. When I took silk in 1992, I thought I might broaden my base, but the truth was, by then I was known for my work in medical law, and that's how it continued. I was the first Welsh woman to take silk. It shouldn't have taken until 1992, but it did. So it was a huge step, but I felt ready for it. I wanted to be the one in the front row. I wanted to do the advocacy. I had loved being led. I learned so much from those I was led by. But I thought the time had come to do it myself. It brought some pretty scary moments, but I was ready. I always did the medical work, but what was enjoyable about the work was under that one umbrella of medical law, I did the straight clinical negligence, I did a lot of regulatory work, I did public inquiry work, and I did the occasional criminal case. So it gave me a spectrum of work and allowed me to move from one tribunal to another, and that was fascinating. I became, following my appointment as a High Court judge, a co-senior liaison judge for diversity. And I was aware that there was a shortage of women coming through in Wales, not only in silk, but also within the judiciary, both full-time and part-time. In 2013, I held the first Women in the Judiciary event at Cardiff University. It was open to the bar, solicitors, silex, academics. We had a tremendous turnout, and people I know were encouraged. And what gave me enormous pleasure was when I was presiding judge of Wales, I swore in 3 new recorders. All were women, and each told me that she had been given the confidence to apply because of that event. Being Welsh is important to me. It is simply a core part of my being. When I was a presiding judge in Wales for 4 years, 2014-2018, it was going home. And it brought back so many memories of my childhood and everything I remembered from those years. It was a very special time, probably the most special period of my years as a High Court judge. There is an emotional side of me that is Welsh. There is the hiraeth, as the Welsh know it, the longing for Wales. It's there. There is concern that women are not coming through to the higher levels of profession in sufficient numbers. If I speak about the bar, I'm talking about taking silk, and I'm certainly talking about the High Court bench. When I first became a High Court judge in 2010, I remember going into one of the first plenary meetings, and it felt like stepping back in time, all those men and not enough women, whereas at the bar we were about 50-50. As I go up to the Court of Appeal now, there will be 8 women out of 4 heads of division and 38. So a better number, but we need to do more. And the more women there are, the more we can encourage women to think about it and to apply.